Hello, and welcome to Professional Weirdness, the show about anything and everything weird. When the going gets weird, the weird turn professional. And here we are. Today in studio, we have Jody,
Hi,
Adzel, Cynthia Sharp, and our guest, Daniel Flowerdew of flowerpowermassage.com. Hi, everybody. How's everyone doing today?
Hello. Yep, rocking on.
Hello, good. Rocking on, yes. And that's what this episode is all about. We're talking about, you heard us in the last episode, and now you get to find out all about these guys right here, the Almorasite rocks and the Auralite dust. These are the best rocks in the world, and our friend Daniel here knows all about them. He's been working with them for years, and our friend and benefactor Laura Lee has even longer, and they both know so much about it, and we're going to talk all about rocks and eggs just behind you too. We'll talk about those because they're the same thing, essentially just different dimensions. All right, Daniel, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to do weird shit and know these rocks?
Well, I'm going to try to keep this short because the entire story is quite long. I've met Laura Lee a total of 3 times before we actually started to work together. But long story short, I am a licensed massage therapist. I have been for about 5 years. And I've collected various healing crystals since I was about 12. So, I jokingly tell people I have about $30,000 worth of various specimens throughout my room. And although I joke about it, it's probably pretty true. I have everything from amethyst to fulgurite, alexandrite, zeolites. I've got so many different crystals. But, the thing that really got me about these rocks is that they do everything that all of these other rocks do and more. So even though I have all of these various crystals and I love them all dearly, now I only work with these. I carry them with me all the time. I have some bigger ones too. So okay, I'm not very good at the whole, okay. So this is kind of what they look like here. Some of them have little red pieces. Like you can kind of see it there on this piece.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. But yeah, so long story short, what got me started with this is I grew up in a very religious household, and we always had weird shit going on. We always had tons of entities everywhere. We had entities that would claw us in our sleep, give us choke marks, things would fall off the walls. Like there was some terrifying, freaky, weird shit going on. Nothing my parents did worked. They tried so many different priests and religions and tried doing house blessings and had exorcists come over. Nothing worked until eventually I got my hands on some of these rocks. I learned about the eggs. And then within days, I was able to fully neutralize all of that weird shit that was happening. And we were getting constant death threats from these entities. Like, it was bad. It was very, very bad.
Wow.
So that's pretty much what got me started. Nothing else was working, so I had to keep searching for something that would, and thankfully I found it.
And Daniel, you said I learned about the egg.
And you help people every day with your services on flowerpowermassage.com. If anybody wants to call Daniel for anything, he's got his rocks available, and he'll tell you all about it too. And also, so can you go into how Laura Lee first discovered the rocks and tell us what you know about that story? And people can go to firstwaveindigos.com to see that as well.
Definitely. I'll share with you what I know. Laura Lee definitely knows a lot more about it than I do. So basically, there was this guy that was in mining. He was a mining person. I would say miner, but that just sounds funky. So, but he chiseled rocks and he looked for gold and oil and, goods in the earth, right? That's what he did. Basically, he came across a huge surplus of these rocks, and he knew he had something very, very valuable. He knew he had something very important. How he came across Laura Lee, I'm honestly not certain. But he ended up meeting with her and was like, I think I have gold here. And she looked at it and held it, and she's like, you've got gold, but not the kind that you think you got. You've got something here that is way beyond what even just gold is, So that's pretty much how it started. She did various tests with it. She had a scientist friend that was into Tesla technology, and he would go through and he did an analysis on these stones and found that they had all these elements and minerals, but most importantly, well, that's pretty important too, because each one has its own vibration and frequency and knowledge. But these rocks have their own grounding source as well as energizing source. And that's really not something that you see on the planet. There's no other examples of that I know of here. Now, I did want to kind of read some of what Laura Lee has on her website here. She has this really awesome story about the Almoricites and Auroralites, and I feel like it really explains a lot about them. So, are you guys ready for me to read it, or any other? Yeah? Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
I feel like I need the Star Wars music on this one, It all began.
I haven't figured that out
yet. It's all good. People can imagine it if they hear the story, Or if they know of David Arkenstone, they can play some of his music as I'm reading this. Yeah. It all began many, many, many moons ago. A magnificent and benevolent starship visited this planet to give us an impeccable gift. This gift was to be buried and remain there, concealed deep within the earth, awaiting its activation. The secrets and mysteries surrounding this gift and its location were kept cloaked and silent. Voluntary guardians were assigned to maintain security and protection, for this gift possessed many sacred and magical elements and capabilities. The stewardship and constant surveillance were top priority, and only the most impeccable beings were qualified to be stewards. The loving beings that brought this gift knew that there would come a time when this planet and the humans and other life forms living on it would become so fractured that they would need some magic to help them remember how to dream again. They knew that in the future, this world and its consciousness would begin deteriorating and polluting so rapidly it would reach the point of extinction. They knew that without some intervention, the dream, the planet, and her inhabitants would become so ill, so terrified and numb, that the dreamers who kept it alive would forget their dreams of love and compassion, their dreams of honor, truth, and integrity, and especially their dreams of passion and romance. If this were to continue for very long, the whole of it would implode and perish, and a once beautiful and majestic planet would literally cease to exist. To ensure a high probability of a successful mission, within this gift was placed a cosmic timer designed to activate its powers of love, truth, justice, and magic. This cosmic timer was pre-programmed to ring at a time after certain beings who were also pre-encoded with its ancient knowledge and how to use it had already arrived on this planet. They would instinctively know what to do with this gift, and when their personal timer would go off inside of them, they would, on some level or other, go searching for it. This gift has a name. It is called Auroralite and Almoricite. And if you feel a tingle or magnetic pull towards this name in the story, it may be your own alarm ringing, telling you you have arrived and your search is over.
Hey, Daniel, I have a question for you, if it's okay.
Yes.
You mentioned at the very beginning of your introducing yourself that you also learned about the eggs. And for people who heard that and we're talking about rocks, would you please explain, what do you mean by eggs? Do you have chickens? What do you mean the eggs? I know a lot of people are thinking about eggs right now with how much they cost, and what you just want to explain.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
First off,
people might be hung up on that.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for bringing that up, Cynthia. First off, let me start by saying these eggs are free. As long as you qualify for them, you can have billions of them at any time.
Awesome.
So it's this egg here. So when you work with them, you call them the original, authentic, uncorrupted cryogenetics badass egg. Now, these eggs are basically the etheric form of these rocks. So the egg, when it encases over you, grants you not only psychic protection, but it gives you a space where you can unplug from what's happening outside of you to connect back in with your own inner wisdom, with your own inner self, and to really connect to your own magic. You know, these tools, what I love most about them is that they do not control you. And if a person is like me, I was a very codependent person, very much a people pleaser. After working with these rocks, it's like if I tried to give them my power, they would shut off. If I tried to have them do something that I could do on my own, they would just shut off. They would just tell me, "Oh, you've got this. Just don't worry about it. You've got it. We're supporting you from the background, but you've got this. This is your job, not ours." So, and that was huge for me. That was huge because I grew up, like I said, in a very religious family where, everything is all about God. You can't do anything on your own. You have to have this other higher power do it. These rocks and eggs help you to access your abilities to do that on your own, to do healing work, to learn your wisdom, to really make this planet a better place. So these eggs are free. And when you work with them, it is very important that you remember the double helix here, the star, I'm getting all turned around, and the little diamond down at the bottom here. Now, this egg was channeled by Laura Lee, and I use the word channel loosely. It was something she already had encoded in her, and she just brought it out onto paper and brought it into the physical reality. So working with the rocks and the eggs together is like a double whammy of getting in the spiritual aspect as well as the physical reality as well. It's like creating a bridge between that gap. I can go off on tangents. Did that answer your question at all?
Yeah, and I'm wondering, what's that squiggle that goes down the middle of it? And it kind of reminds me of a womb, the way it looks.
It does.
Like a womb. Mm-hmm. There's like a squiggle. What is that?
Yeah, it's a double DNA helix.
Mm-hmm. DNA, huh?
Yep. So being in the egg can even upgrade your personal DNA. It's like it activates the deeper, what do they call it? The junk DNA. It activates that. And it helps you to level up with your own authentic wisdom, your own authentic energy, yeah. Double DNA helix.
Wow.
And these eggs and rocks do millions of things. If you're in the middle of a very stressful situation, or let's say you have someone in your life that's very commanding and very domineering, you can actually ask that double DNA helix to spin around you. And it'll act as like one of those old push lawnmowers that doesn't have the engine. It'll just cut all of those cords off. It'll clear off that energy. And once it hits the shell of the egg, it gets neutralized.
That is so cool.
Yeah. And that's just the very tip of the iceberg for what they can do.
Well, I remember reading about Laura Lee said she does some ghost busting, right, of houses. Yes. And that when she used to do it before she started using the rocks, that it was very exhausting for her. And but when she started using the rocks, she barely had to do any work because the rocks did it for her.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like I did energy work long before I got these rocks. And it was like, it took me forever to get the intel. A lot of times it wouldn't be completely accurate, and it would be so exhausting. But then now I've got these. They just tell me, oh, yeah, it's this. Go here. Oh, okay.
Same with me, Daniel, because I've done energy work for over a decade. And when I connect now and I do remote sessions, it takes me a while before I like to get into it and connect to the person and their astral field and all that stuff. And now when I hold my pendant, and he'll probably talk about these in a minute. I hold on to it and have the rocks, on me or near me. And as soon as I use that, I connect. It's instantaneous connection. And I find my sessions are real quick now. like maybe 30 minutes where they used to be an hour and a half.
Yeah, and I bet the effects are a lot more profound too. It's just like very instantaneous and
yeah. It's very cool.
I love that.
Definitely it awakened my psychic abilities. I was not even, a little bit woo 2 or 3 years ago, until I kind of had an awakening experience. And so I only had it like a little bit of time with some other modalities, but when I found the rocks, it was just like exponential help and healing. And I've just been loving working with them. But for those at home who are new to the concept of an egg and shielding, can you tell us like how? So you call in original, authentic, incorruptible cryogenetics egg, and that's how you make sure you get the right ones, because there's phonies, right? Yes. And then what do you do after that? What do you do with the egg after that? And can you egg other people? Is that within natural law?
I believe so. As long as you don't tell the eggs, like, make them know this, if you're giving it as a gift with just that honest intention of, they've got this egg is just to support them, I definitely feel like it's completely like more than okay to do that. Actually, I do it all the time, especially while I'm driving. Instead of getting angry with road rage, I just egg the car that just, jumped in front of me on the freeway going 80, even though there was space on the other side, they could have gotten over. Just, I egg them and I wish them well. And, then I let the eggs decide, what is appropriate for them, because it's going to work with their body and work with their life stream. And, if they're what's termed ass souls, then, they might get some karma for it, but no one's going to get hurt, hopefully.
Right, because if they are operating from honest ethic intentions for humanity, yes, it can only help them and protect them.
Exactly.
Correct? Yeah.
Exactly. If they are an honest, authentic, good person.
Yeah.
Even if they're momentarily, dealing with, trauma or stress, or if they're not really being themselves, the egg will be able to know exactly, is this person always like this? Is this who they are? Or are they really this loving, kind person that just has had a lot of hard shit lately?
So what are some of the other things that would be practical for that? Like your practices, what do you do on a day-to-day basis every day? Like, I know you probably have hundreds, but I mean, for people who are just being introduced to this, like they're like, how would I apply that to my life right now? Like Kelsey's talking about, the necklace and stuff. What would that be?
The gridding.
So yes, the gridding, and like Kelsey was just showing the water. We'll definitely get into that here in a second, because that's just fabulous. So when I call in the eggs, I will then ask them to wrap me inside of them. Okay, because I found that if I tried to visualize it, there'd be blocks and I couldn't step into the egg. So I'll just ask the egg to come around me and to wrap me up inside and put me in the middle of it. And then I'll ask the egg to turn on, and you just want to take a moment to just feel what this egg feels like. Can you see any colors on the eggshell? Does it look purple, or is it sparkly, or is it clear, or is it firm? Is it kind of like Jell-O? Is it full with warm fuzzies? Just take a moment to really see what that egg is for you at that moment. As long as you're asking for the original, authentic, uncorrupted eggs, you're always going to get a good one, okay? Because there are imposters out there. But as long as you keep that short little phrase in there, and I suggest doing that with guides and stuff as well, because there's imposters for everything nowadays. All you have to do is ask the egg to turn on. As you breathe in, you do what's called your figure 8 racetrack system that goes from the heart to the head, to the heart, to the loins, and it brings together all of your thoughts and perceptions into the heart, into your purity center, your authentic purity center, and then it brings all of your creative energies, your desires, your passion, up to the purity center. It brings everything into greater harmony and edification. So it purifies everything and alchemizes it. So you're sitting here in this egg, you're doing that, and you're breathing, and you just let the egg take all of the electromagnetic debris, you know, from your body, from your energy field, and you just breathe out all of that stress. You let the egg neutralize all of it as you're filling up with your figure 8 racetrack energy. That is probably one of the easiest, like most useful tools, you know, for anyone. It doesn't matter if they're just beginning with this. I do it as often as I can because it feels really good too. You know, you're really connecting with your energy. You're not connecting with some cosmic force outside of you. You're connecting in with yourself. Another great tool is very similar to this, where after you've gotten to that point, you just ask the egg to play music for you. You ask to hear the music of the cryogenetics egg, because these eggs use sound, tone, frequency, color, pretty much everything but smell. However, I have had moments where I've smelled jasmine or I've smelled different, you know, so I guess it can do smell too. So that is probably one of the easiest tools and so profound. You know, once a person does that, they can get into a space that's called neutrality, where they can then basically access their psychic abilities, you know, and then they can say, okay, so this situation is going on in my life. Now that I'm in this neutral space where I'm really tapped in with, you know, with my heart core star, while I'm connected to my infinite soul wisdom here, what is really going on here? What is really going on in this situation? It totally changes a person's perspective. You know, it really gives them the tools to look at things in an objective way where they can then really create change that's needed. Yeah.
Very cool.
So
Cool. And let's talk about how to make the water too.
Yes,
if you would. And how good, maybe little stories of LR5 water and what does that stand for and how do you make it and everything, and I'll demonstrate for the people at home here.
Yes. Okay. Do you want to explain it?
Oh, okay. I can't see. Okay, so I have these aren't on the website, but this is like a pearl cage holder that I bought on Amazon and a silver chain because I felt like I wanted to have direct contact with the egg, although I love the pendant, which has the dust in it, if you can see that.
So for those of you who can't see, this is what they look like here.
Yeah, there you can see.
And then Cynthia is showing the silver pendant. So, yep.
I got one too.
There's yours. We're so cute.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so I got a silver chain on there too. And what you're going to do is you're just going to put it in the water and just stir clockwise usually. And just stir until it starts to thicken up. And according to Laura Lee, this used to take about 5 minutes to do, but thankfully for our arm's sake, it's gotten a lot faster as this whole hologram has improved and the rocks have gotten more dialed in, if you will, and more powerful. So you just keep doing this until you feel like it gets a little bit thicker. Okay, it's just a subtle thing. You can do it more or less. Or, you know, if you just want to throw a pebble in there, I do that all the time and it just takes a little bit longer and you can swish it around. But sometimes I just throw a pebble, but it has to be glass. So that's another thing that we should go over is that this rock does not like plastic. So, yes. All right, it feels like it's thickening up. It's been about a minute. And I got a long chain too, so I can just take it off easy. I don't have to fiddle with anything. And I can make LR5 water just like that. You know, no wands to carry around and no powders to use. Just
it takes mine about 5 seconds. 5 or 10 seconds.
Yeah, so that's
me. It's really fast.
Mine's fast too.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yes.
So let's talk about a little bit what you should not do with the rocks, since we can segue into that, like about the plastic and the fire and all that.
Before we get into what not to do, I do also want to share that you can do this experiment on your own when you get your rocks. Mm-hmm. You have like one little shot glass where you have just regular water in it, and then another shot glass the same size where you make the LR5. And you just do little tiny sips of each, and you can taste and feel the difference. Now, a big thing is that when you start doing this, you don't want to drink too much of it at once because it can flush your system, which, although it's mostly good for you, it can be very unpleasant. So, you know,
Ugh.
So that's and then if you leave a pebble in your water, you can literally ask that pendant before you put it in. I want you to make this water LR5 water. Every time that I fill this cup, I want you to charge this, please. You know, and give it a little bit of love and a little bit of encouragement. It's like, yeah, rock on, little buddy. I'm so appreciative to have you here. Wish you well on your journey. Have fun. You know, just keep charging up my water. And
Daniel, what does LR5 stand for?
oh yes, thank you, Cynthia. It is love resonance number 5.
Kind of like a
So
perfume.
Yeah, exactly. I'm wearing love resonance number 5.
Yeah, and it is a great energetic tool like that too. There are times where I'll imagine that I have a bottle of LR5 and I'll spray it around my field, and even without the actual physical LR5, it's still so impactful. Of course, well, I am also hearing right now not to do that until you've actually experienced drinking LR5 and working with it for a little while. But then you can just etherically spray it on you or spray it on your kids or your pets. You know, it's not going to hurt anyone. It's just going to help them. So things not to do with the rocks. Okay, first is plastic. Okay. I think Laura Lee shared how she discovered that. So she was with this guy who was a shaman, you know, and he ended up putting his rocks in like a little lunch bag, right? A little plastic bag. And she just, and I might get some of this story wrong, but the end part is the best part here. So basically she just heard a very strong, no, don't do that. And then later on, while she was sleeping, she had a dream where the rocks went around and put saran wrap around his head and around his body and like tied him up. It didn't hurt him at all. It was just a little bit of a reminder just to be like, hey, we don't like this. If you don't like it, we're not going to like it, you know?
Yeah, it's like suffocating to them, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it's literally suffocating. Yeah. Yeah, because these rocks breathe.
Yeah.
Now, when they're in water, you know, when they're in glass or even like steel, water, steel, and glass have a certain amount of conductivity and breathability. You know, glass will refract the light, I believe is the term, where like it goes in one direction, that kind of goes up and out. But when it comes to plastic, they use plastic for insulation and electricity for a reason. It literally smothers it. It keeps it from getting out. So yeah, no plastic and no fire. That is the next thing. You don't want these rocks to get too hot because they can melt, and they, for one, they won't look as pretty. They, from what I've heard, they look terrible. I've never done it. I don't want to do it. I'm just going to trust what I'm told, and I'm not going to do it.
It destroys them, right?
It destroys them.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. But when you work with them, they will get really hot sometimes.
Mhm.
But that's different.
Right.
You just don't want them to be an actual physical fire.
Yeah.
As for other things not to do with the rocks, you know, you cannot use these rocks for any corrupted purpose. So let's say, okay, so here's an example. Let's say that you as an individual had a lot of childhood trauma growing up, and you're in a relationship where this person is triggering that, you know. If you ask the rocks to harm them or to make them stop, you know, if it's not appropriate, the rocks are just going to shut off and they're just going to say, no, we're not doing that. But if you ask the rocks, okay, I want help getting through this. I want to be a better version of myself, and I want to know what I need to learn, okay? And if it gets to the point where this relationship is over, then it's over. But I want to just be the best me I can be. Then the rocks are going to start shining. They're going to be like, yeah, okay, let's do this. Let's rock and roll, you know? But if you do things to intentionally harm good people, they're just going to shut off. They won't work for you.
Right. And don't they also can actually send stuff back to karma or what they call truth and justice, right? Can you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you talk about maybe the gridding too next? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The gridding, so important.
Yeah.
My room is gridded about 4 times.
I love it.
And then I have a lot of rocks everywhere. So.
Yeah.
And what does gridded mean?
So gridded, I love it. So what it means when an area is gridded is that it is in a sort of containment field. Not so much that it's keeping everything inside, but it's creating a barrier around the facility that's gridded. Yes, yes. And the rocks don't need to be big. Like Kelsey just showed you guys, the house grid set, they're very, very small.
They're tiny.
Small. They're tiny.
They're tiny little pebbles, like little tiny pebbles. Yeah.
Yep, yep. And when you get these, I like to tell people, don't open up the tissue paper. They're very, very tiny and they're easy to lose. Unless you're planning on like putting them in the ground outside, just keep them in the tissue paper. It's a lot easier. But size doesn't matter with these rocks. Now, when a place is gridded, it does a multitude of things. First off, it does help protect that area from psychic attack. It'll either completely neutralize the psychic attack or it'll, bring it down a lot. It can help get rid of ghosts. It can help bring in more money. That's the one thing that everyone wants, right? It can help bring in more truth, justice, and integrity into your life. That is point blank what it does. Okay, let me see. Okay, yeah, I can share this. Okay, so for example, someone gridded the CDC. For those in America, that's the Center of Disease Control, right? About a month later, the big world epidemic thing happened. The pandemic took place, literally within a month after it was gridded.
Oh wow!
And it really brought it to people's attention that something is not right here. Mm-hmm. That this company that's supposed to be helping other people, it's not their interest. It is not really what they're doing. And gosh, so many places have been gridded. The North and South Pole have been gridded. So really the entire planet is in an Almora site grid already.
Well, Daniel, I gridded the FDA here, and shortly after that is when they had to release the Pfizer had to release like the it was like all connected, with that. So I don't know if that had anything to do with that, but it was kind of interesting that was released because the FDA tried to stop it and it didn't happen. Tried to stop the all of the the 40 pages of what do you call it, of side effects of the shots came out, and the FDA was trying to stop it and they were not successful. So
I absolutely love that.
I forgot to tell you guys that was tied to that, and I know the main doctor who pushed it through to try to get it to for them to release it, and it was very soon after I gridded the location here.
Excellent.
I don't know.
It is. It's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Another place that was really big that was gridded was the Vatican.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And shortly after that, all of the stories of these pedophilic priests started coming out, and there was no stopping it either. So I'm sensing kind of a,
positive effect.
Right.
And I think, Daniel, doesn't Laura Lee or somebody keeps an index and keeps a track of who's gridding what, and then what day and what time and where exactly they are? And it's kind of exciting to see.
Yeah, if you go to the First Wave Indigo website, there is when you go to the tab section and you look at the Almora site category, there is a part on there where it has the grid map, and it shows all the places that Laura Lee knows that have been gridded. Mm-hmm. Entire cities, let's see. Yeah, a lot of. I really hope that the FDA is on there because that is so awesome.
I think I sent it to her. Yeah, because I sent it to her. I think.
Excellent.
So yeah, that was exciting because it was on a Sunday. Nobody was there, so I just did the whole outside the building, and there was a perfect place like in the center where there was like a little garden, and I just dropped the center rock, and it was great because it's never going to be found, which is great when you're gridding outside in a place like that. They'll never find the rocks, because they're so little.
Yes.
I gridded the big company that I work for. It's a very, very large health insurance company downtown Chicago, and I'm just like, got in there, did it, truth and justice. Yes.
Yes.
And a hospital, but the house, my house is gridded, and some of the things that I asked for, I mean, when you grid, you can program it, is laughter and a little bit of romance and some love and fun, and not just safety, money, and health and all the good stuff, but some of the fun stuff too, and it's showing up. It's definitely showing up. Yeah, my house is like it's a different place. So
it does, yeah, it makes a huge difference. So that actually reminds me, yeah, there's a difference between gridding a location outside, like a big building or government building, versus gridding your home. If you decide to grid some big place out in society, you want to be in stealth mode.
Yeah.
First, you want to be in these eggs.
Oh yeah.
And you want to be very well protected, because there are still a lot of people out there and a lot of energies that do not want us to have truth, justice, and integrity. They don't want us to be sovereign. So a lot of those energies are going to attack you as you try to put up these grids. So that is an important first step, but don't be afraid when that happens. Just remember, it's happening because you're doing something good.
Exactly.
You're doing something that's going to benefit tons of people. So, definitely listen to your body's needs, do it at a comfortable pace for you. But when you grid these places, that is going to happen. And then gridding your home, it's a lot easier because it's, it's your space. You could do whatever you want, really. So no one's going to be there staring at you. There was a time that me and, is it okay if I share this story, Kelsey, about one of our little gridding things that we did?
You're good.
Yeah, sure. We'll edit it out if not, if we can change our minds.
Okay, perfect. So basically, we show up in this huge white van. We're wearing like all this equipment. We look like we're like surveyors for this building. No one stopped us. It was middle of the day. It was busy. People were going everywhere, and we were just doing our thing.
Uniforms, right?
Yeah.
We're like Ghostbusters. We got our Ghostbusting.
Yeah. No one noticed. No one made a big deal, and no one stopped us. No one questioned what we were doing. So it was completely secretive. And this was, it wasn't super busy. It was kind of on the side of the road out in the middle of nowhere, but it was a big, a big player in the corruption that is happening right now on the planet. And I don't want to go into too much more detail than that because, it's on the map. If you want to look it up on there, you can kind of look through and be like, I wonder if this is where it was. But it was very important that we gridded that place. And so just keep that in mind when you do grid. You want to be as secretive as possible. Some people will take a pencil or a pen out there and they'll pretend like they're writing in a journal, and then, their shoes aren't tied and they have to reach down, and so they stab into the ground with the pen and real quick and drop a rock in there and tie their shoe, and okay, we're all good, and they walk on.
In general, it's amazing of how tiny these powerful things are. It's just like they're so little.
Technology. They're advanced technology.
They really are.
Not 5G, it's 8G or something like that.
Yeah. And with these rocks, one of the nice things is that even a tiny piece, even just a tiny, tiny piece, has the same power as a 20-pound rock. Yeah. I like having the weight of them in my hand. That's why I've, gone out and got the bigger rocks. But even just the little tiny rocks, if all you can get is like a little $15 pendant and you get those little rocks, you can use those in your 5-star meditations, which the meditations that we do are very different than common meditations, but that's a topic for another day. But you can use these rocks to help you in your journey. They don't have to be huge. You can just use the little tiny ones.
So Daniel, I have a dream that, the 4 of us will be in a van like the Scooby-Doo crew and drive around the country and grid all the bad places.
It sounds like a road trip. I like it.
So we'll have to have this on the side, right? No,
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
you guys can see this. Just listen. See, it's badass.
Yeah.
It is really badass. Like the things that these eggs have done for me alone are just phenomenal. You know, I've had clients that had addictions that they've had for 15, 20 years that after working with the rocks and eggs, they were able to stop those addictions. They were able to move on with their life. They were able to clear the trauma out of their system so they could just live, you know? So many people have curses on them. Everyone. I don't think there's a single person that doesn't have a curse on them, besides maybe some of the global elitist assholes, but they don't count because they're not really even human. So, you know, but there's no benevolent being out there that doesn't have interference for living the lives that they deserve and desire. These rocks and eggs can really help you to access the magic you need to undo the corrupted magic. So that way you can really create what you deserve. Because if you're an authentic good person, you know, you deserve to have a comfortable life, you know.
Yeah. And I asked Laura Lee once, because I said, well, what if all of the bad people get their hands on these? And she goes, oh, don't worry, they will regret it. She said
they won't even want to be near them.
Yeah.
You know, I only know of one person that was corrupted that got these rocks. And Laura Lee and I have talked about it, and you know, we've used our abilities to see what they've done, and we're pretty certain they threw the rocks away because they couldn't handle it. They couldn't handle something telling them that what they were doing was not okay.
Yeah.
They felt entitled to do what they were doing, and the rocks said otherwise, and so they ignored the rocks and said, "Oh, they don't work for me anymore." I wonder why. I wonder why. So yeah, these rocks are very intelligent. You know, I've never had other rocks that would actually talk to me. These rocks, if I ask them for help with something, I can literally hear them giving me advice. You know,
Wow.
I can literally hear them talking to me. And then I muscle test to make sure, you know, okay, am I did someone drug my coffee this morning? Like, am I really getting
Well, and Daniel, also tell us, I know, like when you grid your house, like for example, I gridded my apartment, my actual apartment. You can go to the center rock. You want it to be accessible, right? And you can talk to it and ask it for help because it wants to help you.
Yes.
The grid wants to help you.
The grid wants to help you.
Yes.
And the more jobs you give them, the happier they are.
Right, exactly.
They really are. They don't like to just sit there doing nothing. They like to work.
They need instructions every day.
Yep. And you know, if your center gridstone is out of reach, you can hold onto your pendant or onto your rock and connect to it, and then give it directives.
Yeah.
So like there have been places that I've gridded that were really far away, and I'm not going to go back to them. You know, some of them are like 6-hour drives. So I just hold onto my pendant and I connect to it, and I'm like, okay, I've got a little update for you guys here. I want you to also do this, this, and this. And then they're like, yeah, sure, we got this. And then done. But yeah, they love to be talked to. They love the communication. They love to be acknowledged. You know, the thing about these rocks and eggs is they refuse to be worshipped. Mm-hmm. They are not okay with that. There is no one from the UV realm that is okay with being worshipped or praised. Mm-hmm. Okay? But they do appreciate authentic appreciation. Mm-hmm. You know, if you talk to a friend and they reach out and they help you, you know, get groceries for the day, you know, because you have no money, you know, you're not going to be there bowing to them, being like, oh, almighty friend, thank you for your well-being and thank you for your blessings, your blessings. No, you're not going to do that. You're going to be like, oh, you know, that really means a lot to me. I appreciate this so much. And I just hope that someday I have the opportunity to pay it forward, or that I have the opportunity to give back to you in some way. But I just appreciate this. This means a lot to me, you know, because if you do the first thing, your friends probably aren't going to come back unless they got some issues. So, you know, but when you grid your home, right, you can ask it for anything. You can ask it to help you with your own healing progress. I gridded the first location that I worked out of doing massage and energy work. And I literally told the center grid rock, every person that comes through here, I want them to receive the benefits they need. And when they leave, they take all of their junk with them. Either it gets neutralized or they take it with them. It does not stay here.
That's great.
And then I did that to my room and to my home, and I am so glad I did. So,
You're so smart. That was really wise.
oh yeah, big time.
That's great.
Yeah, I could say so much about these rocks. Really, you have to experience them for yourselves, though.
I have a story, Daniel. So I gridded my place, several months ago, and it really helped me. And then not too long ago, I went and stayed at a friend's house. I was helping her out, and that house was not gridded. And previously to me gridding, I had been under extreme psychic attack for well over a year. And when I it had greatly improved after I gridded, and it was almost gone. And then when I slept at her house for a few nights, it was awful for me. And I was like, oh my gosh, and I realized how protected I was in the grid. And I asked my friend, can I come back to your house and grid this house? And I had to explain everything to her, and she was like, go for it, But it was really interesting that you don't realize it until you leave your protected environment. And I mean, I was egging myself, but it was still, it was bad. I came home and I was just done for several days. And I thought, wow, if anywhere I travel, I just got to grid wherever I'm going to sleep, right? The room I'm going to sleep east, right? Yeah.
Yep. What's funny is I actually do that. The last time I stayed at a hotel, I brought a little grid set with me. Mm-hmm. I just placed them around the room while I was there because I was like, it was in the city. It was out in Seattle. I'm like, I'm not doing this alone.
Right.
Do you grid your car too?
I do. Yeah. Well, I have rocks in my car, so it's like it's intentionally gridded, but I don't have like
mine's gridded.
Awesome.
It is.
Did you grid like the interior, Jody?
I gridded in the trunk and I pinned because it was carpet. I pinned it, and then on my dashboard I have tape with the little things. And when I to the mechanics, I'm like, ignore those,
And the better one is
I put it on the ceiling, and I taped that. You can use tape on the tissue paper, just don't
on the top,
rock.
But not all over the rock.
Not over the rock. Yeah.
Yes,
nice.
Exactly. Yep.
Awesome.
It doesn't bother the tissue paper.
Tape?
Yeah, it doesn't bother tissue paper, but yeah.
But transport tape probably you wouldn't either, because there's air that goes through it, but it's still plastic.
Yeah. Resin, plastic, any of that stuff the rocks really don't like. Even a lot of
thumbtacks.
Yeah.
On the wall.
And sometimes beeswax. I know Kelsey uses beeswax. I used beeswax to put one on my computer, but I don't know what happened. It fell off, but I gotta do a little better job. I think because I only did it. I attached it one side with beeswax. I don't think you can put the whole rock inside beeswax. Yeah.
No. Yeah. You just want it to be set inside of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I made, for the people who don't know me, I have been working with Magick since I was very young, right? So I made this tool for my, I guess you'd call it my altar. It's not really an altar.
And let's say authentic magic, not black magic, right?
Exactly. Yes. It's authentic, uncorrupted omni magic.
Yes.
It's really used for the benefit of all living beings to find win-win solutions, to harm no one except for the assholes that are trying to hurt everyone else.
Right.
And magic I leave that up to rocks and eggs to decide.
That's not with a K, right, Daniel? It's magic with a K.
Magic with a K, exactly.
That's how we distinguish.
Yeah, exactly. But I used a clay, and I put little amortite rocks in it, and I just kind of squished them into it, so they still have an open side, so they can still breathe, but they're in there well enough that they're not going to just pop out. So you can do that, but you want to make sure they have a breathing side and check with them first. And if you have questions on it, just write Morley or I, or really any of us here even, we'll help you get the right answer on if it's okay for your rocks or not.
Yeah, I put them in my orgonite, which of course is resin, which means plastic. And Laura Lee's advice to me before I did that, because I checked with her first, is to just have them half submerged, and that's enough. And that's really powerful. And they like being an orgonite, or if you have orgonite, you can just put it on top, and they like it there too. So it just powers it a little bit more. And also, I wanted to say a little bit more on gridding is that it's better than organite, which you have to make it. It's sticky and everything like that. And I love organite, and when it's done, I've gridded a number of places, but there's metal detectors out there, and people have metal detectors, and there's rumors on the internet that they go around to all these cell sites once in a while with a metal detector and just chuck your organite. So, but this one, they will never find it in those teeny little pieces. And especially if you go there, a lot of gifters say, just be neutral when you're doing it. You're not doing anything wrong. So why are you upset? Why are you worried? Like if you're upset, if you're worried, if you're scared, you're going to attract that energy, and you're going to see the siren, the lights in the back, So just relax. You're doing something for humanity. You shouldn't be scared. You should feel great about doing it, and it also will be protective. In addition to having your eggs, of course. So I just wanted to throw that in there. If you're doing, I did a Masonic lodge and a few other places in my town. So that is another idea of a place to grid if you're just starting out.
Yes, definitely. Masonic lodges, hospitals, courthouses, anywhere that has constant tourist attraction, because a lot of those places are going to also have a lot of sex trafficking. Mm-hmm. So any place like that, anywhere where people gamble or do drugs, you can't go wrong. Daycares need gridding more than people realize.
Yeah.
Because there's all of these kids that are coming through that have their own unique family lives, and it gives them the opportunity to collect the codes, so that way when they grow up, they don't have to follow the same patterns their parents did. That plus some daycares are just really sketchy. So
and schools might be a good one too. High
yes.
schools, elementary schools,
yes,
highs and
colleges. Even colleges. Yeah. Very important to do. Very important. Mm-hmm.
I have a question, Daniel. So, can you put the rock, like say your center rock, in your grid? Can you put it in a bowl, like a glass bowl, with other rocks, other crystals or stones? It's okay, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It'll even cleanse the other crystals.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll even cleanse the other crystals and enhance their abilities.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, awesome.
So, and that reminds me. So one of the cool things about this rock versus other rocks is that other rocks are programmable to the point where, if you have an amethyst, you can tell it exactly what you want it to do.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's something that's not really going to benefit you, that crystal doesn't know it. So that crystal can't say, oh, actually, let's do it this way,
Right.
But when you're working with these rocks, if you ask it to, if you try to program it for something specific, or you ask it for help, it'll say, actually, that's not going to benefit you the most right now. Let's get back to neutral and let's figure out the right next step. And then we'll go from there. Other crystals and specimens, they don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't. Moldavite doesn't. Larimar doesn't. Quartz certainly doesn't, because it's just programmable for anything. Selenite doesn't. I could go off on the list. Alexandrite doesn't, and that's a really expensive one. But but these rocks can help to cleanse all of your other rocks too. So like I have all of my crystals up in my room. If my room was a little more organized right now, I'd pan around and show everyone. But I've been working so much, I just haven't had time to deal with all of that. So but after gridding my space, all of my crystals have new life. They're all more vibrant, and they work in harmony with each other instead of just like combating their energies and trying to, they work together better.
So I have a geek out. I don't know if it's a question, but I want to discuss it with you. And I think I talked to you about it a while ago. So I'm a Lord of the Rings fan, as I know.
Oh, I knew it. Okay.
And I watched the Rings of Power, which is a way old prequel TV show on Amazon. A lot of J.R.R. Tolkien freaks are like don't like it because it's not exactly the story, because he took the guy who did Rings of Power took the different sources and sort of created the backstory of how the rings were created, right? Yeah. And so and the dwarves were the miners, right? They were the miners. They had the mountain, and they had very luxurious place they lived because they were miners. And so in the story, they find this magical rock, right, ore that is way down deep, and it was what powered the elves and the tree and the lights and in this world, right, and what gave the elves their power. And when it was dangerous to mine, though, and it was dangerous for the dwarves to mine. And when they show it, and he shows it, and it goes on the table, and I go, "Oh my god!" It looked just like almoricite.
It
And
does.
I was freaking out because I was like, "Oh, what?" And they were talking about how important it was and how they needed to mine it, but
Yes.
and
how it was the only substance that could save the race of elves.
exactly, yes. And I was like, "Oh my god!" I mean, it looks exactly like it, exactly.
It does. I thought the same thing.
He throws it across the table, and there's a leaf there, and the leaf comes back to life, and it was like, because the tree, they needed the tree to come back to life and it's the sap and all this stuff.
The tree was representative of the power of the elves.
Exactly.
And so when it was getting all mucked up and moldy and all black and stuff, it was dying. And then when it came next to this rock, it was rejuvenated. It was brought back to life.
So it was like light and the light energy, like the savior, but also mining it, as we'll learn, I'm assuming later, that it unearths, a horrific demon. So.
Well, definitely did in the Rings of Power.
Yes.
But once these rocks come into the hands of people who are going to use it, it kills demons.
Yes. Yeah. So that's the difference, right? That's the difference, because they used it for greed and power, because they used this to actually make the rings of power. And the end of the first season, they only make the 3 rings for the elves on that one, because there's a bunch of rings. There's humans that have the rings, elves, and the dwarfs. So they just showed the elves, but they all wanted it for their own personal greed.
Yeah, they wanted it for power.
Exactly.
They wanted it for power. Yeah.
So unfortunately, that element did not have this power.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, no, I love Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I read through it. If anyone ever has a chance to read through the first 2 chapters of the Silmarillion, or preferably do an audiobook, because a lot of the words are they're confusing and complicated. If you're like me and you're raised in North Idaho, where you don't even really speak English, and that's the only language you know, you definitely want to have the audiobook. But like, the story of it is just so impactful and beautiful.
Yes.
I thought that was a very interesting thing too, watching that. It looks so much like these rocks. A lot of the same attributes. The only really big difference is that these rocks are intelligent enough to know if they're being misused.
Yes, exactly.
And then they shut off.
Yeah. Isn't that fabulous? Yeah. One of the things that a lot of people might be wondering, Daniel, is, are we going to run out of these? It was a small source, maybe. I mean, when I first heard about them, of course, what did I do? Google them. They're nowhere. The only place you can get them is from Laura Lee. And I know she doesn't have an unlimited supply for the rest of her, whatever. What are your thoughts about that?
So there are still quarries of this rock that have not been extracted yet. So although we don't know the exact location of them, we know the general, and it does also say on Laura Lee's website that these rocks are found near the Rocky Mountains. So we kind of know a general of where to go to find them.
I bet we know somebody who knows the location.
Maybe.
Oh, yes.
Maybe. So there's hope. So it's not like we have to like the fear of loss, the urgency. Get your rocks now, but they're all gone.
Exactly. And Laura Lee has always told me that she has this very firm feeling that the rocks will not run out until everyone who needs them has them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. If you feel guided to get these rocks, get them.
Yeah.
If you feel like you're not certain, but you might want to try it, just get them. Get a little $15 pendant. It's not like you're spending a ton of money. Now, some of these rocks do get expensive. Like this one here is about 330 grams. It was about $1,000.
Yeah.
But just get them, try them out. They're going to benefit you and everyone else. So yeah, don't worry about them running out. I've seen some of the secret stashes of these rocks. Okay, there's still quite a bit, in stock currently, and then there's a ton more underground still. And with the help of these rocks, they'll help us find the others.
Exactly.
So,
That's what I was thinking. We just need to ask them to help us
Yeah,
find them, right?
exactly. Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep. Yeah. Any other questions or anything else you guys can think about?
I would love to hear one of the weirdest stories that you can think of where you use the rocks or even the eggs, and just like one of the funniest, strangest things has happened. And I know you probably have 300 or something, but what's the top one that comes to mind?
Just in the last week, I got about 3. Well, let's see. I kind of want to share my first story with these pendants. So I was gifted one of these pendants from Laura Lee. I was helping her out at a convention. Okay, let me backtrack a little bit here. I just got off the 16-hour shift working night shift, and I drove an hour out into Spokane to help out with a friend's event. She wanted me to help with setting up booths, helping to show vendors where they're at, getting everything set up. And I was pretty tired, but I was going to do my best, right? And Spokane is a terrifying place to drive. I do not like it. I'm from a little town. Their population is at least 10 times as high. But, okay, so I was out helping people around, and then I got to Laura Lee's booth. She was there with Ronnie, her ghost partner, her ghost gal partner. And I was helping them set up, and Laura Lee just looked at me and was like, you know what? I want to gift you one of these pendants. I think you really need this. Well, I didn't realize it until I put the pendant on, but I was using the energies of all of the people there to keep myself afloat, to keep myself alive and functioning, because I was so exhausted and tired that I had no personal reserves of energy at this point. Within 5 minutes of putting this pendant on, I went to the lady that was running the event, and I was like, I've got to go home. I've got to go to bed. If I wait any longer, I'm not going to be able to drive safe. I feel like this rock is going to get me home safely, but I need to go home and get to bed. Now, I was trying for years and years to get into massage school. I grew up in basically poverty. I didn't have any money saved up. I had nothing, right? So starting out on my own was very complicated. I had family and friends that would have helped me out if they had to, but I didn't want to ask them for help because, we were all kind of in a rough spot. That next day, when I woke up, the next day after getting this pendant, I got a call from the massage school saying not only was I accepted into the program, but the state was going to pay for almost all of it, and then I could work off the rest. I paid a total of like $500 on this $18,000 course to get my license to practice. Wow. And I've been doing it since. So that is probably the most impactful story for me personally of what happened when I first got these rocks. That, and I was able to get rid of these nasty entities that were absolutely terrorizing us. So that is one of the big stories. And gosh, so many little things with clients where they would just be like, oh, my daughter is having these issues. They treat me like crud all the time. I do my best. I feel like my communication is good, but just things are not working out. And then I'll find some sort of psychic implant on that kid. I'll get their soul's permission, their Suma's permission. Someday we'll probably talk about the Sumas. But I'd get their Suma's permission to remove these implants. And that next day, they would have a huge breakthrough. They would start to communicate better, and their relationship would grow. There were times that I'd go to friends' houses that weren't gridded, and I would cleanse their homes, just feeling all of the angst and all of the stress and all of the fighting there. Just like, no, if I'm sleeping in this place, it's going to be clean. Okay, I got standards. Okay, I might suck at showering every day, but I got standards for energetically. And that next day, they'd come up to me and be like, oh, I'm sorry if you heard us fighting. We've been debating about this for weeks now. And we just recently today got into a really good understanding with each other. And we get what's going on now. So we apologize if we woke you. And I'm like, I'm glad that you did that. I did not wake up. I was dead asleep. But, me cleansing their house gave them the opportunity to to work together to get it figured out.
Mhm.
And I've just seen stuff like this all day, every day, working with these rocks. There are times that we will go through, and Laura Lee and I will go through and do a huge cosmic cleanup mission, where we will take out these entities that have been in control for thousands of years, in some cases.
Mhm.
And as soon as they're gone, you can see the effects of people as you're going around through town. You can feel it in your body, just so many weird things that it's really hard to quantify what the strangest story is.
Those are great, though.
But
Great.
yeah,
Yeah, I love that first one. I mean, that's what a big bang to start with,
Yeah.
Here's
Yeah.
your introduction.
Yeah.
Welcome. The rocks are probably going,
Yeah.
Yay, Daniel's here. Finally,
Yeah,
we've been
exactly.
waiting for you.
And I met Laura Lee when I was 12 years old.
Oh my God.
Right, I met her when I was very little. It was the first time I ever saw her, and she had the Living in an Indigo house. It was at one of the events. Yeah, please show it, Cynthia. I know you've got it there somewhere. And so, as you see, this book is laid out on the side. Well, that is a test. An Indigo will go and read it the correct way.
Mhm.
But if you hand it to someone who's an earthling or a normie, as I call them, a muggle, they're going to open it up like a regular book and then tilt their head to try to read it.
Oh my God.
And I picked it up and I just started reading it right away. And I was like, oh, this is really fun. So I forgot where I was going with that story. But yeah, that was the first
Farley
time.
when you were 12. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the first
Yeah.
time I met her. And then, yeah. Just a lot of fun little stories. There's so many cool things. But I have tons of Moldavite, right? Moldavite recently got really famous because people were like, oh, it'll make you change your entire world. It's going to give you a dark night of the soul to force you to change. There was a lot of fear around and a lot of people got really stressed out, but a lot of people wanted to try it. I have pieces of Moldavite that are about the size of a 50-cent coin, which is pretty big. It never did for me what these rocks did. Ever. My psychic abilities went through the roof. My ability to help myself and others went through the roof. It wasn't just about me personally. It was like now all of a sudden I was able to really help other people heal through traumas that no one else could help them. That have gone through years of therapy, years of this or that, going to all these Reiki practitioners and healing practitioners and getting absolutely nothing or even getting worse.
Mhm.
So it's so hard for me to quantify exactly the importance of these rocks. The biggest thing for me is just get a pair of them, get even just a $50 order or a $15 pendant. Start off small, just work with them and see what you experience. And be open to it. Be open to whatever's going to happen because these rocks can not only help you clear out the dead wood of your life and to start anew, but they can help you reach deep inside of yourself to really find where you want to start your growth from.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You have a YouTube channel too where you put your the videos with you and Laura Lee, the really weird shit on steroids, right?
Yes. Yep. And you can find that through my website. If you go on my website and you go to blogs, it'll lead you to my YouTube channel. Laura Lee also has a channel. I believe it's Really Weird Shit Studios.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not certain exactly, but if you go to my video, I'm sure you can find hers. And and her YouTube is full of videos.
Yeah, she has a great.
I think hers is called LL Mystica House or something like that.
Yeah.
L. It's really odd. It's hard to find.
It's hard to find her. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we'll put it. Kelsey can put it in the description. Yeah.
Yeah, in the description. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, there's tons of information out there. But if you try to look up the Almoricites,
Like little Ruby. Is that Ruby?
Mine. You little Ruby. Hey there.
How adorable.
That smile, I love it.
Oh,
She looks like her mama.
I've never seen her. She's so cute. Hi.
Oh, she's so cute. Awesome.
So if you look up Amora sites online, like Cynthia said, you're going to get a lot of nothing.
Yeah.
A lot of nothing. There were 2 websites I found in the past that were trying to say that Amora sites were snake oil, oh, this is just some sort of mica. I've collected rocks for so long. I have been to so many crystal stores, so many rock shows. I have never seen anything like these. I have even seen spectrolite hematite, which is very similar. A lot of people confuse the 2 of them. But when you put them next to each other, not only is the weight for size different, but some of the structures on the outside of the crystal are different,
Oh, wow.
and how they feel, how they interact with the body, completely different than spectrolated or hematite or whatever it's called. I don't even remember right now, but it's something like that. I think it's spectrolite hematite. But yeah. So, either if it works for you or not, it's something you're going to have to decide for yourself. But I have not met a single person yet to date that did not receive benefits from working with these rocks.
Yeah.
I have not met a single person to date that did not have major changes in their life happen after receiving these rocks. Oh, okay. I've got one more really fun story. This is not a personal story of mine, but Laura Lee gifted rocks to a shaman years ago. This lady has been doing shamanic work for years. She was very gifted. She had the magic hands, and after a while, okay, so this lady, she got her rocks. She went home, and her husband came out to the driveway to see her and just looked at her and said, "You know what? I've been cheating on you for the past 6 years. It's time that we get a divorce."
Wow.
And she wasn't completely surprised. She knew that something was going on, and she was just grateful that it happened. But it happened as soon as she got her rocks. He didn't even wait for her to get inside the house. He came out to the parking, out to the driveway to meet
Talk about truth and justice.
Truth and justice at the speed of light,
Truth and justice at the speed of light. Exactly. At the speed of uncorrupted clear light.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So I definitely recommend to people, if this is new to you, definitely check out Laura Lee's website. I have been doing healing work since I was 12, and I have received more benefits and I have received more use out of Laura Lee's techniques and knowledge than I have in anything else. I have studied Eckhart Tolle, I have studied Muji, I have studied all of these, extremely high-end, really sought-after gurus and healers. I have yet to meet anything that comes to meet Laura Lee's work. I don't know what. Okay. Ruby's trying to show us the Cryogenetics 2 book, and then Cryogenetics 1. These books are phenomenal, and for most people, it's good to start with the Cryogenetics 1. It's very gentle. It really helps you to connect back into yourself. But when you're ready for the real work, that Cryogenetics 2 that Kelsey and Ruby just showed us, that has the implant removal protocol. It has timeline therapy. It talks about the chakras and the Kundalini and astral bodies, which I would love to talk to you guys about someday on here if we ever get a chance.
Yeah.
So many amazing tools. The spiral curse reversal ceremony. These tools have helped out people in tremendous and amazing ways.
Yeah.
And I just really suggest to look at the firstwaveindigos.com. There's a lot of free information on there. You don't even have to purchase the books right away. Yeah. You can read a lot of it on her website. Mm-hmm. And then I prefer to have the books, it's nice to have the physical copy on hand, and you can even get them signed. So they're like made specifically for you, it just adds a little more magic and a little more sparkle to it. But yeah, seriously, check out this website. And then if you ever want to do a session with me or Laura Lee, go to either of our pages and you can find us. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say. Because I'm chatting.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you so much for coming, Daniel. And unless we've got any other questions, it was great to have you on. I think that was a great introduction. We look forward to having you on many times after this. And Ruby decided to be a part of this broadcast. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much. I apologize for being all over the place.
No, great. It was great, Daniel. Yeah.
I'm an Aquarius. I'm very airy. I'm everywhere. So I'm like the wind everywhere.
Nice.
All right. Well, thank you guys for having me on here today.
Daniel.
I hope that you all have a magical rest of your day. And for all the people who watch this, I wish for you many benefits, long-lasting benefits, and only benefits. Wishing for you all of the best. Thank you.
Awesome.
All right. Bye.
Bye, everybody.